alphabetical order down the list. All right, since we're recording now, I'm just going to jump into this. So welcome everybody to the Studio City Neighborhood Council Forum. It's the first night of the candidate forum for the upcoming elections. If you notice what's behind me, all around me, we have the election website above. Please go to the election website if you want to know more about candidates, if you want to know how to register to vote, and if you want to know how to vote, which is only by mail or Dropbox. You'll see the stakeholder date to sign up by May 4th. You'll also see ballots need to be postmarked by May 11th. Again, dropped off either in the mailbox itself or in the election box located at the Studio City Library. And you do have the dates there as well. For everybody who's joining us, this is being recorded. We'll be up on YouTube. It will also be live streamed on Facebook right now. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to read a few things, ground rules for everybody, so we all know. Due to the pandemic and for the safety of our community, we're holding this forum differently than others, thus via Zoom. The election committee has done their best at being fair to every candidate taking part, as well as to the stakeholders who will be voting. Please note, again, I just said it, the election website above my head, you must register to vote by mail for this election, even if you've registered for national and state voting. Please pay attention to that and let anyone whom you know be aware of that. Dates and times, again, are beside me, around me, behind me, whatever. Not every candidate running will be in these forums. So please visit the SCNC election website above for all candidates and their statements. And I would also encourage stakeholders to reach out after this forum to each candidate via social media to continue the dialogue. That may be through Nextdoor, that may be through Twitter, that may be through Instagram or email. I encourage candidates and stakeholders to continue the conversation outside of this. Questions have come from the community, and since many were similar, they've been combined for clarity's sake. Not all questions will be asked, and they will not be asked in any particular order. All candidates are aware that while we will be asking specific questions, there is a neighborhood council code of conduct that they must sign if they're fortunate to become a board member, that they must keep an open mind about all issues brought before the board before a vote. To be fair, during this pandemically altered election, all candidates who elected to be involved in this video forum have been and will be given the questions 24 hours in advance. We also encourage every candidate, again, to engage with the community via social media. So if someone is not involved tonight, tomorrow, the next day, there is nothing stopping them from jumping on Nextdoor and having their own town hall, setting up their own Zoom, answering any questions that they'd like. There's nothing stopping. This is the sanctioned one by the SCNC. For the attendees, the format will be 1 minute for opening remarks, 1 minute, 15 seconds to answer, and 1 minute for a closing statement as well. We're trying to give people a little more time to answer the questions. There is a timer that everyone can see. That will be that thing that you guys see called the blue sky timer. Everyone will be muted at the end, keeping with how the meetings are already run. That's what we'll be doing. Again, all for fair sake. So, with that said, for the candidates, if you choose to, please mute yourself, definitely. But if you choose to get off video, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we will get started with opening statements of 1 minute. First person will be Richard Niederberg. You will start out. And so everyone following along at home will know the order will now be Richard Niederberg starting out. Priscilla London will be next. Karen Sarro, Robert Alpert, Joseph De Luna, hopefully he's got in here. Griffin Faye, Ira Gold, Julie Houlihan, Lisa Karagian, Scott Mandel. So with that, Richard, you can start your statement, buddy.
Hello, I'm Richard Niederberg. I'm the longest serving member of the Neighborhood Council. I enjoy doing it basically, and I've been involved with just about all the events in the last maybe 16 years or so, whether it be Spring Garden Fair, Luminaria, things at the park, the library, whatever. My main interest is actually get out the office and actually do stuff. I've also been the cultural affairs chair, and we have things primarily at the library dealing with the culture and history of Studio City. I've lived in Studio City for about 57 or probably more 67 years. And so I'm pretty good idea of what's going on. As the community representative, one of the two, I am very closely involved with and check the schedules of all the other community organizations, whether it be resident associations, churches, other public facilities, public places, like I'm in the president of the Optimist Club, but I also give equal time to the Kiwanis and other Studio City groups. So that's basically about it. Basically, I want to be real.
Michael,
Oh, you're muted.
yourself.
Priscilla, you will be next. So ready when you are. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Sorry, folks, we're trying to get through the glitches here. There we are.
Hello, everyone. Priscilla Rambar London. I've lived in Studio City for 7 years, and it's been a very growing and positive experience for me. I had lived on the other side of the hill for most of my time here. I have found wonderful people and wonderful meeting people. I have not been engaged in the Studio City Council at all, but I'm here to participate. I think I have great ideas. I'm vocal and can give you great words of encouragement to do things. I want to be an active part for what's going on here. I have done citizenship work for a wonderful couple who've gotten their citizenship. I've also worked on getting potholes filled, but I'm ready to do more and participate more in what's going on.
Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you very much, Priscilla. Let me do this over here. Next up will be, sorry, just Karen will be next up. You've unmuted yourself. All right, ready when you are, Karen.
Okay, hi, my name is Karen Woodward Sarro, and I've been living in Studio City for 6 years. I served on the Carpenter Parents Board for one or 2 years. I'm not sure now, it's been a while. Both of our kids go to schools in the neighborhood. I'm a project manager, and I would love to just team up with people to help make Studio City a better place. And that's why I'm running. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Karen. Next up will be Robert Alpert.
Whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, my friend.
All right. Hello, my name is Robert David Alpert. I've lived in this neighborhood since birth, so 21 years, same house. I've spent most of my life hoping to become an engineer, so a lot of what I've seen as from that point of view is working to see a bigger picture overall. And I believe our community, most particularly, would be our big picture, our way to have everyone improve. And I hope that as a elected official that I could help everyone within our community, regardless of position and well, regardless of position, really. Everyone is here and we're all equal. After all, that's what our country was made of or built on.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we do not have Joseph De Luna tonight. Again, you can go to the candidates website above me to find out who the other people are. We are going to Griffin Faye.
Thank you, Michael. Hello, Studio City stakeholders. My name is Griffin Faye, and I am proud to be a candidate for the at-large stakeholder seat on the Studio City Neighborhood Council. I was born and raised in Studio City and have seen change, for better and worse, in our beloved neighborhood. I'm a recent graduate of UC Santa Cruz. After graduating, I moved back home to Studio City and have been working as an elementary teaching assistant at an independent school in Hollywood. I have fond memories of attending summer camps at Beekman Park, working there as a camp counselor, hiking in the hills behind my parents' house, and the absolute joy of walking down to the boulevard to take part in the Studio City Holiday Parade every December. I decided to run for the neighborhood council because I want to give back to a community that has given me so much and work collectively with other concerned neighbors in a way that will help our cherished corner of the city recover from the impact inflicted by the COVID-19 pandemic. I joined the Studio City for All slate to promote modern solutions to make a safe, clean, and enjoyable community for all residents. Find out more at our website, studiocityforall.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Griffin. Next up, Ira Gold.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ira Gold. I'm a 14-year resident in Studio City. I'm running for the member-at-large seat as well. And I'd really like to get more involvement from the stakeholders of Studio City. After all, the member-at-large seat really is the liaison between the stakeholders of Studio City and the board itself, the council. I really, it's really difficult to get a sense of what the city really wants, what we're feeling, what we're thinking, unless we actually have more involvement and really know what the voice of Studio City really is. So I think that's a really, really important aspect of the job. I also think that, well, I have opinions and I'd love to share them, and I'd love to be, to help lend a really good creative collaborative voice to keep our city as beautiful and as safe as we know it is, or it should be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ira. Next up will be Julie Houlihan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Houlihan. I'm running for a business owner seat. I'm a 20-year resident and homeowner in Studio City. My business is music supervision and music editing for film and television. I'm married with 3 sons who attended the neighborhood school, Carpenter Elementary, and Walter Reed Middle School, where I served as the president of Friends of Reed Music, the parent group there, for 6 years. I continue to volunteer over the hill at Hamilton Academy of Music, where my kids go for high school. I've attended the First Christian Church at the corner of Colfax and Moore Park for about 15 years, and I've served as an elder there, and I sing in the choir. My goal in running is to help keep Studio City one of the best places to live in LA. I'd like to be part of the solution for dealing with this uptick in homelessness and crime, and also to aid our recovery as we come out of this pandemic. So I'd really appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Julie. Next up will be Lisa Karagian.
Hello, my name is Lisa Karagian. I am currently a board member with the Studio City Neighborhood Council and chair of the Land Use Committee, as well as an appointee by Council Member Karagian to the Plan Review Board for the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard Corridor Specific Plan. I've lived in Los Angeles almost all my life and have lived in different parts of the city, Los Feliz, Venice Beach. What I have come to know since moving to Studio City almost 10 years ago is that our community has a distinct character all onto its own. I'm proud to be a homeowner and an independent business owner for almost 10 years here in Studio City. I work full-time as an esthetician with a private clientele in my very own private skincare studio. As a board member, I have a goal to inspire and a vision to revitalize our community. It's an ongoing effort. If elected and given the opportunity, I would like to introduce a vision and engage stakeholders.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much, Lisa. Scott, you are up next.
Hi, neighbors. My name is Scott Mandel. I'm running for a business seat on the council. I currently serve on the outreach committee. I've lived in Studio City for over 20 years, Sherman Oaks for almost as long. Originally from Brooklyn, New York, we came to California in the 60s. My profession is post-production for movies. 21 years at Orion Pictures, I was in charge of post-production. And then we went out of business in the 90s. After that, I started my own small business where I do production consulting, quality control, and I create deliverables and things such as that. I attended my first meeting in October 2019 that Piscatelli actually ran. I started to get more and more involved, and I realized I could make a difference. And what I really needed was more than 2 minutes of public comment for all my ideas and thoughts. So that's why I'm trying to get on the board, and I have a lot to say, and I want to say it. Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, we're only giving you 1 minute and 15 seconds tonight. Sorry,
Got it.
not 2 minutes. So that is our opening for everyone. Let me set this timer for 1 minute and 15 seconds because we'll get into questions now. Hope everyone can see the timer. Sorry, the sound isn't going off here. Sorry, let me adjust that as well. Okay, there we go. So with that, I will pick a name for the first question. First question will go to Karen Sarro will be the first question. And again, in alphabetical order, it will go Karen, Robert Alpert, Griffin Faye, Ira Gold, Julie Houlihan, Lisa Karagian, Scott Mandel, Richard Niederberg, Priscilla London. With that, our first question will be a general question. That will be, what do you see is the role of the Studio City Neighborhood Council in working with our LA City officials, departments, and staff? So again, first question goes to Karen. Whenever you're ready.
I don't know like the particular details of it, but I know that you're an advisory and you can make statements of support or against city business. I know you have a budget that you can apply to neighborhood projects. And I know that there are, neighborhood councils in every district. There's like 30, or I'm not exactly sure how many, but I think most of us like report to the city, but maybe, and there's one person who will represent, one city official that will kind of coordinate all of them. But it would be nice if we could open up more dialogue with other neighborhood councils and learn from each other too.
Thank you, Karen. And yeah, that goes for everybody as well. You can use up your time or you don't have to. When you feel is right is up to you. So the next question is going, well, the same question, sorry, is going to Robert D. Alpert. On you, Rob.
I believe our role with the Studio City Neighborhood Council, especially with being an at-large member, would be, of course, helping to serve as an advisory member for the city as a whole. In fact, while I believe there's actually 96 different councils, if I remember, and the important fact is this great multitude of voices provides not only a centralized or a centralized forum for each or more region-specific area to provide their own voices here. And I think especially with the city council or our neighborhood council, that as an advisory position, we should be working with our adjacent neighborhoods to not only improve our situation, but those around us, as most of the situations we deal with happen to be ones that might be in other adjacent neighborhoods. But in the end, we all have the same complaints, stuff like road projects, the homeless situation, and I believe in many cases,
thank you, Robert.
Criticisms of Garcetti.
Sorry, thank you. Next will be Griffin Faye. Griffin.
Thank you, Michael. I personally believe that we should be encouraging collaboration with neighboring entities, organizations, and with the city government. When we write community impact statements from the neighborhood council, that goes to Councilman Paul Karagian and other offices throughout Los Angeles to better Studio City, and we give them our own unique perspective on how to tackle issues right here. Our slate, Studio City for All, likes to promote coordinating with other communities, and you could see on our website what we are already doing with to work with other organizations in the community. We believe that coordinating with other communities is a way to make our voice louder, to bring attention from the neighborhood council to other communities about specific shared issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Next up will be Ira Gold. Ira?
Thank you. Okay, I see this as kind of an interactional relational question. I'm going to echo some of what other candidates have said. SCNC is an advisory body. It reflects the voice of Studio City, and that's really what we are, the voice of Studio City to the greater governance, or the governance of Greater Los Angeles. As such, the council should be advocating to the city on behalf of our neighborhoods. And regarding working with the city staff to address the question specifically, it's important to be able to voice an opinion that is oftentimes contradictory to the staff and their offices, but still be able to maintain a respectful working relationship. This simply is the overarching role that I see of the council in working with our city departments and staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Julie Glaze-Houlihan.
Yes. Well, the Neighborhood Council obviously was created to work with LA city officials. So that is the primary role. And, you know, it's to advise our needs and concerns to them and provide feedback on their ideas, their programs, their ordinances, how those things affect us and how we feel about them, and to advocate for the people that live here and the people that work here. To me, that is the ultimate goal. I do think it would be smart of us to work with neighboring councils when it's appropriate, because I go to Sherman Oaks all the time. I go to North Hollywood all the time. We're all dealing with the same types of issues. You know, there's crime and homelessness, street racing, digital billboards coming our way, pedestrian safety, lack of police presence. All these issues we share, and these are all important. And I would love to work with and meet these city's officials to get our voices heard.
I'm talking through mute. Sorry, everyone. Thank you, Julie. Lisa, you are up.
As a dedicated community member and being part of the board on an advisory level, my goal is always to promote stakeholder participation so that all voices are heard and notes are taken, and we have a part in influencing policy, rules and regulations that we should, as board members, abide by, but as well as to promote change and working with council members' office and the surrounding boards. I think that's the best way to get our voices heard, just working together.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Next up, it is Scott Mandel.
Hi, everybody. So our goal, our function is pretty much spelled out by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, DUN. How we do that is subject to our interpretation and our creativity. And one of the things that I think we should be doing is education. We need to help educate our stakeholders as to who does what, who's responsible for what, and who has dropped the ball. And then we educate our city officials as to what our stakeholders are feeling about the hot issues of the day. Mind you, it's not just the city. In Studio City, we're also under multiple jurisdictions. We have the county, we have the state, we have conservancy land, we have Corps of Engineers. And one of the issues that we're always fighting with is, well, that's not my jurisdiction. And one of the things I plan on doing is creating a jurisdictional map where I can chart out each hotspot, no matter what the issue is, and find the entity of responsibility. We've had county officials, state officials, in addition to city officials. Also, we participate with other alliances like the Sustainability Alliance, Clean Air Alliance, and other neighborhood councils. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Next up, Richard Niederberg. Richard, I'm going to unmute you, buddy. I think you have to unmute yourself.
You unmuted the wrong person.
I unmuted them. Did I?
Yeah, you selected me.
This is weird. I
Okay,
selected
finally.
Richard. There we are.
Okay, but things happen electronically. Okay, obviously as neighborhood council, we are responsible to try to tell our council person our needs. Sherman Oaks next door has a whole different council person, and so does Hollywood Hills. So we have to maintain our stuff. The whole idea of the neighborhood councils was set up by a charter change that put them into existence in November of 1998. I attended the municipal constitutional convention to decide what neighborhood councils are going to do. It was decided at that point that it would be a participatory democracy rather than representative democracy. And now all the neighborhood councils are going more or less that, even though it might say horse keepers at one place and residents somewhere else, it's still, we're supposed to basically tell our put CISs and tell our council member what you would like them to do. We're also, of course, talking to all the other departments also as may be required. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Next up will be Priscilla Rambar London. Priscilla.
Well, it's interesting hearing what everybody says, and I agree with so much of it. This is a new experience for me, but I do see where the neighborhood council should be immediately connected to the LA city officials. The more we know what they're doing, the more it will help us as a community. I also feel that it's imperative that we work with the groups around us. Everyone and everything is connected. And one of the things that my husband said tonight, which I think is very appropriate, is a pebble in Echo Park Lake ripples through Studio City. And I think that talks about what we need to do with Sherman Oaks, with North Hollywood, certainly as it regards to the homeless situation, which is one of our greatest problems. And I think that's where we need the Los Angeles City Council to be involved directly with us. And I would like to participate in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. And that takes care of everybody for that question. So let me choose a new name for the next question. And that will be Priscilla. Priscilla Rambar London, you will be first up to answer this next question. And in order, it will be Priscilla, it will be Karen Sarro, Robert Alpert, Griffin Faye, Ira Gold, Julie Houlihan, Lisa Karagian, Scott Mandel, Richard Niederberg. So the question will be a general question. Since the Studio City Neighborhood Council represents stakeholders who live, work, own real property, or is a community interest stakeholder within the boundaries of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, the question is twofold. Are you open to listening to other stakeholders' ideas? And how do you handle differing opinions when it comes to being a board member? And this might be what your most important leadership mantra will be to help you collaborate with other board members or people who disagree. So again, are you open to listening to other stakeholders' ideas? How do you handle differing opinions when it comes to being a board member? What would you say your most important leadership mantra is? Priscilla, on you.
Well, I certainly look forward to other opinions. I kind of live in the little box of my own opinions on things. So I'm very much open to listening what other people have to say. Hopefully it's an important part to collaborate with other people. And I'd like to think that my mantra is collaborating, especially in this particular situation. I do handle opposition well. I've been known to have certain political conversations and we've all come out friends. So I feel that I am open to hearing what other people have to say, especially if they have a better idea than I have. I would be willing and anxious to hear other opinions that will help Studio City be a better community in so many different areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Next up will be Karen Sarro.
I have, friends from all different backgrounds. I'm open to all different points of view. I'm an independent myself, and I just think, the more people can articulate their ideas and communicate with each other and, get things out in the open, the better. My mantra is like, let's focus on policy, not ideology, and let's work to, incentivize good outcomes, right? So that's kind of where I stand.
Thank you, Karen. Next up will be Robert Alpert.
I absolutely believe that we should be working together with other board members and listening to their own ideas. After all, there's an old saying about how a second pair of eyes usually allows you to see things either in a different way or see something you may have missed. And that thing you might have missed could potentially be the most pragmatic solution that would leave as many people happy and satisfied as possible. In terms of how it could be as a mantra, I believe there's another saying that an open mind is the key to wisdom. And especially in a position such as the at-large stakeholder, they should be listening to the points of views of everyone else on the neighborhood council board, as it was their position, as most of those situations are their own positions. It's not the place of the at-large stakeholder to determine what the business stakeholder should be dealing with. Instead, he should be having some of his own ideas and taking the opinions of his fellow members. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Next up, Griffin.
Thank you. I personally believe, to the first question, are you opening to listening to other stakeholders' ideas? Of course. Running for the at-large stakeholder seat means that you will be representing Studio City at large. So everyone that's a stakeholder in Studio City must be represented under that position. I believe that the diversity of Studio City is well represented and well heard when everyone has a voice and is able to speak their mind. That means that running for the at-large stakeholder seat, I would have to be comfortable with listening to everyone of all backgrounds. And how do you handle differing opinions when it comes to being a board member? Well, things that happen here affect everyone in Studio City, not just the members of the council, so that everyone must be able to share their opinion, because certain things will affect certain people differently. And being able to work through that is the goal and the job of the neighborhood council. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Next up, Ira Gold. Ira?
Hi. Yes. Okay. So absolutely. You can't do any position on the board without being able to and being willing to listen and to work well with other people and have a collaborative voice. So you really can't do the job without doing that. And yes, that's the job, and I'm open to it. To answer the second part of the question, how to handle different opinions. Listen and assume that everybody is doing what they believe is right. If we think about that point, then we have the same goal. We might get there a different way, but we have the same goal. So if you already have that point on the table and agree on that point, the road to that goal is going to be so much, I'm not going to say easier, but more likely. If there's a deadlock, negotiate and compromise to maintain some sort of forward motion. Something is better than absolutely nothing, and often pays the way for more. So that is my answer. I hope I answered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Next up will be Julie Houlihan.
Yes. So regarding the first question, not only am I open to other ideas, I think they are essential. I like what Robert said. Sometimes other people have ideas that you wouldn't have thought of, and they're gold. And you need those ideas. That's why we have a board, and that's why there are many of us, and that we're a diverse group. So I think listening to other people is absolutely essential. And then considering who our stakeholders are and how these policies and how these ideas affect them. and really spending some time analyzing how these are going to affect people and what's the best decision for the most people. And that's sort of how I think I would approach things if I were on the council. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. Next up, Lisa Karagian.
So ideas are meant to be shared. They're meant to be collaborated with, especially within a board of 15 members. So there are a lot of rules and regulations. I keep coming back to that, but I do want to preface, as a board member, we have Robert's rules, and we have a lot to keep in mind as a board member, so that we stay within policy and what we are essentially voted in for our seats as the board member. Having said that, my leadership mantra would be to be open, to listen, and to respect. That is number one key for me, to be respectful and to ask stakeholders to be respectful for the board members. We are in a position of volunteering, and we have a job to do.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much, Lisa. Up next, Scott Mandel. Scott.
Hello. Listening to other points of view is the reason why I'm running. I think I have some good ideas, some good points of view, and I want people to listen. As far as listening to the views of stakeholders, we are required to. That's part of the Brown Act. So after each agenda item, the public, the stakeholders, have their chance to weigh in. And I want to caution some of the people who want to be on the board and the committees. This will subject you to 2 minutes of public comment where you can be abused with some very coarse language. It happens far too often. As far as collaborating with other board members, I think that's the way, as others have brought up, to exchange ideas and solve problems. My background in post-production, I have decades of dealing with people who hold very different views on how to get the job done. A few are logical, most are very emotional, some are jackasses, but the best thing to do is acknowledge all the points of view, listen, but in the end, I have to use my best judgment when it comes to casting my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next up, Richard Niederberg. Richard, you are muted. You're still on mute, buddy. See if I can, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec, Richard. Richard, let's get you. It asks to unmute. Richard, there you go.
Okay, fine. There it is. Okay. Hearing other people's opinion is no big deal. I spent well over 20 years in Van Nuys as a judge. And so all day long, every day, I'm hearing different points of view, most of them dealing with the same facts, but their own spin on it. So I'm pretty good at that. Also, I've been a mediator for a long, long time, even longer than that. And so I'm having a high success rate of getting people to agree to a center part and make it all work. For neighborhood council, it really isn't any different. Just try to make it all get along, to come up with some common opinion that can be adopted and sent over to our legislatures and council people. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. All right, we've gone through everyone on that question.
Michael,
yeah.
One sec. So Richard Adams is trying to call in. Can you check your participants and see if...
Richard Adams, just like Joseph De Luna, although he would be allowed in. Richard Adams, I'm sorry, unfortunately, to be fair to both stakeholders as well as to the candidates, will not be allowed. A couple of weeks Lisa has been reaching out to people, and
Right.
It's unfair to the other candidates, meaning you, to Karen, to Ira, to everybody, if somebody else is unallowed to get in here as well when they've been given the same opportunities to get in. So Richard Adams, I apologize for that. But as I said at the top of this, anyone who'd like to, candidates, please get involved via social media, whether it's next door, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You are more than welcome to make your own Zoom call to engage stakeholders as well. As far as these 3 forums go, again, not everybody responded to Lisa in time. So to keep it fair to everybody involved, candidates and stakeholders, we've all had to play by the rules. And I'm sorry, but again, I say engage outside of this forum. Right now, this is for the people who reached out, signed up for the forum, and did due diligence on that. Thank you, Lisa, for that. I will go on to the next question. I already pulled a name. And Robert Alpert, you will be the first one to answer. I will no longer go through everybody in alphabetical order. I think I'll call it out ahead of time, but Robert, you will be the first one. This one may not be a long answer, so you may not have to use up your 75 seconds. The question is, do you believe neighborhood councils are political organizations? Is your candidacy supported, backed, affiliated, or funded in any way by any political party? And just for people in attendance, for clarity, this is not asking how you vote or how you're registered. One more time. Do you believe the neighborhood councils are political organizations? Is your candidacy supported, backed, affiliated, or funded in any way by any political party? First answer for this question to you, Robert.
Well, I believe that much like how our current mayoral elections are set up, the neighborhood councils are inherently not a political entity. They serve more as a form of representation for our citizenry and stakeholders to provide their own input and guide the development of both their neighborhood and, to a degree, the city at large. As for my candidacy, I'm currently completely self-backed aside from a single phone call, which would unofficially have the tacit support of the National Traditionalist Caucus, an organization based in New York, but with a California branch. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next up will be Griffin Faye. Let me start the timer over again. Griffin?
Thank you. No, they are not political organizations. They are about issues regarding the city and the neighborhood that they represent. This is a nonpartisan body to address local needs, and it should operate as such. Personal politics should not interfere with the interests of the Studio City Neighborhood Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Next up will be Ira Gold. Ira.
Yes, do I believe it's a political organization? By definition, yes, but is it a partisan political organization? No, and nor should it be. My candidacy is not supported or backed by any political party. I am Ira Gold. I am backed by myself and my desire to fulfill the needs and the interests of the Studio City stakeholders. And it's as simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Julie Houlihan, Julie Glacier Houlihan.
I do not view the neighborhood council as being political or partisan. I would hope that the common needs of our neighborhood would outweigh any type of partisan politics. And I am not backed by any political party. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Lisa Karagian, you're up next.
Simply put, no and no. That's all I have.
Okay. Just saved 1 minute and 10 seconds. All right, Scott Mandel, you are up next.
Well, neighborhood councils are not political organizations in the eyes of the IRS or in the eyes of the city. We have a lot of governing do's and don'ts when it comes to political type lobbying, and our rules state that we're to remain nonpartisan with respect to political party affiliations. Personally, my campaign is not backed or affiliated with any political party, although I do realize there are some running that are backed by political parties, and I hope they will volunteer that information. As far as politics, everything these days, Coke, Delta, Major League Baseball, you name it, is political. And we all have views on certain topics that could be misconstrued as political. But if we narrow our focus to the issues of Studio City and to the purview of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, I think we're going to avoid politics pretty much. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Next up will be Richard Niederberg. I'm going to unmute you.
Okay,
There you go.
fine. No, I'm not supported. Not a member of any political party. It would be deadly for me as a mediator to become affiliated with any official or unofficial political party or group or organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Hold on a second, trying to keep up with you all here. Priscilla London.
I did not come to this as any kind of political organization whatsoever. I believe it is a community caring of the community organization. I have absolutely no one that is supporting me. Perhaps my husband will vote for me, but other than that, it's a limited, I have no affiliations whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Next up, Karen Sarro. Karen?
I guess it's a bipartisan community, right? So everything on the board is probably, locally oriented and not party affiliated. I'm officially a member of the Democratic Party, but I'm an independent person. I'm not backed by any organization. I'm an environmentalist. I have supported 350.org with my work. I'm aware that my name has been floated as being part of a slate, and I am not. I'm aware that I've been affiliated with some sort of website that wants armed guards in Studio City, and I have nothing to do with that. I don't even know why my name was associated with this. You can Google me, Karen Sarro, and you'll see that I'm affiliated with my own private organizations, my own private businesses, and, I believe in commerce. So, I'm independent. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. And that will do it for that question. So our next one is going to be on crime and safety. Let's see who's going to start it out for us. Lisa Karagian, you will start out this question. And the question will be, what are your feelings about the people's budget?
I don't know what the people's budget is.
Who is that? So if people's...
I have no idea what that is.
The people's budget is reappropriating money from LAPD. In the wake of everything that's gone down last year, there has been talk about defunding the police. So how do you feel about the people's budget, defunding the police? How do you think LAPD has been doing?
I think the LAPD is doing a fine job, and I hope they continue to do so, and I have no further comment.
Thank you, Lisa. As I move forward, sorry about that. We are going to head now to Scott Mandel. Scott, what are your feelings about the people budget? How do you feel LAPD has been doing?
Well, when the people's budget first came out, I didn't support it. I understood the motivation behind it, but the kinds of cuts that are being suggested, I think, are only going to make matters worse. In fact, I think they'll be disastrous. I think as far as the budget reallocations, I think pension reform is a great way to get claw back some more money. I don't hold any grudge against Chief Moore, but if he quits, becomes a millionaire, and then gets rehired as chief of police, I think there's something wrong with the drop plan in our pension system. Measure J passed, and that's for LA County, and there's going to be a huge amount of money that is going to be reallocated for things that are outlined in the people's budget. And I think we should give that a chance and see how it works before we get rid of the city attorney's office and go to a 1%, 1 and change percent funding of LAPD. As far as how LAPD has been doing, when I came to LA, it was Chief Daryl Gates. So I think we've come a long way since those days. There's always room for improvement, but I think the police are doing a fine job given the circumstances.
Thank you, Scott. Next up will be Richard Niederberg. So Richard, what are your feelings about the people's budget? How has LAPD been doing?
I don't think that the whole people's budget advocacy was really correct in front of city council. I'd rather just have the city council get their advice from the 99 neighborhood councils. I understand where they're coming from. I just do not agree with their techniques or their written materials. That's it.
Thank you, Richard. Up next, we will have Priscilla London.
Well, I have to admit that I'm not totally knowledgeable in this area. I did not know what the people's budget was, but Lisa didn't either, so that made me feel better. But I do believe in the police, and I do not believe in defunding the police. If there are other ways and strategies to find money in the budget, that's great. I'm all for it, but not to defund the police. Absolutely not. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Next up will be Karen Sarro.
I'm not familiar with the people's budget either. I do support the LAPD. I think that nationwide we probably need, some less lethal options for dealing with police and confrontations. I don't see a lot of energy behind that. I think that we need more funding for mental health. I don't think we should have either or. I think we need a police budget and we need more money for mental health help.
Thank you, Karen. Robert D. Alpert, on you.
I'm not too familiar with the people's budget myself, but I would say we should be approaching any such matters with caution, especially as some of these suggestions have been provided in other cities. And I would rather that we see the after, or at least the beginning after effects of them before we commit to such an act in a large metropolitan city such as Los Angeles. Personally, I don't believe it would be as effective as they would claim it to be. Most of these claims about LAPD budget overspending, especially on supposed heavy-duty vehicles, were in fact gifted by the Department of Defense as part of military surplus giveaways, programs during the 90s more than anything. And I don't believe it would apply there. In fact, I would go as far to say as maybe a budget reallocation would be appropriate, but more so to handle the unfortunate situation that per capita, Los Angeles has a far lower police officer count per 100 people than other major metropolitan cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. All right, next up will be Griffin Faye.
Thank you, Michael.
That's good.
I think this is a good time to call back to one of our previous statements about sort of the role of the neighborhood council, and seeing that this is a nonpartisan body, taking on strict political platforms is not something that as a neighborhood council we want to do. However, seeing the people's budget, was a result of the civil unrest from the summer and the actions that came from that. And this, again, this is a nonpartisan body, so we have to work with people of all backgrounds, even if we disagree with them at times. And then going on your question about how we feel the LAPD is doing, I want to focus a little bit on Studio City and the police presence here. We have a great senior lead officer in our community who we can cooperate with on a multitude of tasks, and we will be doing that when, hopefully I'm on the neighborhood council. Thank you.
Thanks, Griffin. Up next, Ira Gold.
Yes, so the people's budget, their motto is defund the police, reimagine public safety. I love the idea of investing in the community. However, I feel that anything that takes away funding from those that are tasked to provide safety is a dangerous idea. This being said, I'm open to hearing differing opinions. And I believe there's a second part of the question about the LAPD, how we feel they're doing. I feel that the LAPD are doing the best they can. To talk about the elephant in the room, there are good and bad apples everywhere. I am very pro-police. I feel like the vast majority are doing the best they can with what they're given. And at the onset, I don't believe that funds should be removed from them. And again, I'm open to other opinions. I'd love to hear an opposing view, and I'd love to learn more about it.
Thank you, Ira. With that, up next, Julie Glaze-Houlihan. Julie, you're up next. Julie Houlihan. Julie, are you with us? All right, we will move on to the next one. I'll give her a chance to answer that afterwards. Sorry, let me write this down. And thanks for bearing with us, everyone. All right, that will bring us to the end of that. Next, oh, it looks like she might have had a bad connection. All right, next question is going to be about the unhoused. And Julie is the name I pulled, not here. I'll keep her for the second. First person to start this question out will be Griffin. Griffin, you will be the first person to answer this question. And the question will be, what are your thoughts on bridge housing, tiny houses, Project Room Key, and safe parking LA in our community to take care of the unhoused?
Thank you, Michael. So currently there are 3 bridge housing units in Council District 2, and all of these projects would provide help for the unhoused stakeholders in Studio City. However, these are interim solutions. These are not permanent solutions to address the homelessness crisis that in Los Angeles. And this would be part of a temporary bridge. I believe they're meant for 90 days maximum to find more permanent solutions. And our slate believes that it's a good start, and starting this process will help people of all backgrounds. However, we also need to move towards long-term permanent solutions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. And next will be, after Griffin, Ira Gold.
Yes, so this is a topic that it begs much more than just a minute 15. Tiny houses, I'm all for the idea of tiny houses. I'm all for the implementation of tiny houses. I think we need to have a broader conversation about that with the community at large, and really find out what the community at large is thinking about that before we really set forth an opinion on it, because it does affect homeowners. It does affect people who are leasing in Studio City. Project Room Key is from what I know about it, I think it's a wonderful idea. I think, again, there are lots of logistics involved in that, I'm sure, that I'm not familiar with. But at the onset, it seems like a wonderful idea. Safe Parking LA, I actually like this idea a lot. I love the idea that this is regulated. It's a place where people can go check in and check out. I believe they're in their cars. There's security. I think that's a wonderful solution. But again, all of these different solutions, I feel, begs for some more research.
Thank you, Ira. Julie, I know that you got disconnected. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
right.
I'm so sorry.
All
It
right.
wasn't that I hated your question.
Don't worry about
Spectrum, I don't know what to say. That was terrible.
it. It happens. I'm going to have another question for you later because you conked out at the moment. It was your turn, but it is your turn now. And if you didn't know the question, let me throw it out to you again.
Okay.
Asking about the unhoused. What are your thoughts on bridge housing, tiny houses, Project Room Key, and Safe Parking LA in our community? Rather, the services our city offers to the unhoused. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a powder keg of a question. This is very difficult because obviously we have compassion for those that are unhoused and they need services and they need help and they need compassion. I know that there are people who live near Project Room Key and the park and ride on Cahuenga that are extremely unhappy about the situation and don't feel safe. So I know there's a lot of different feelings about those programs. But what I do think is that those are bridge programs. Those are temporary programs. Some of them just due to COVID. And what we have to focus on is long-term housing. I watched this seminar that LASA did. It was this State of Homelessness 2021. It was just a few days ago. And there's 10 million people. We have the same number of housing that we had when we had 6 million people. So we've got to create housing. We've got to create also housing or treatment for the drug addicted and for people who have mental problems, and that's also lacking. So it's a multi-pronged situation that I hope we can work with city to address.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Next up, Lisa Karagian.
For me, everyone deserves to be in permanent housing. No one should be living on the streets under the conditions that I see when I'm driving up and down Ventura Boulevard and in our neighborhoods. For me, this is a huge public safety issue that needs to be looked at very seriously. And I hold every single politician, our representatives, our council, everyone responsible and accountable. Something needs to be done. Money needs to be spent. People need to get into permanent housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Up next, Scott Mandel.
So I support all the types of housing you mentioned. With the addition, one thing you left out was also safe camping. That's another option that many of the homeless people have actually requested. So we got over 70,000 homeless in LA County, and there's 40,000 in the city. So I'm open to just about anything that passes the 3-point test. Compared to what, at what cost, and what hard evidence do you have? Don't forget, we had Prop 63, which was the solution to mental health, billions and billions of dollars, and nothing to show for it. Then came No Place Like Home, which was housing for mental health, and we don't have that. And then, of course, the 2H measures, where now our city attorney has been instructed to claw back money that was misallocated. So all of those items should all be on a massive scale built in the most inexpensive way to shelter people immediately. And once there is shelter, then an obligation to use the shelter, because living under the overpass in filth, addiction and misery and suffering, that's not compassion, and that should not be a right. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Richard Niederberg.
Yeah, of this project, I've kind of broken it down into pieces. The piece that I've been working on is trying to allow professional building developers to build their version of what we see on Chandler Boulevard. This is sustainable. This basically, and if they can make $100 a month off each one, so the better. It could pencil out very nicely with the public services that they are already receiving. So that's what my primary concern has been, trying to let the private companies and people do what the Fed did, what the state did, and city did on Chandler Boulevard. I also make note of that when it comes to how do I say it? The big jail downtown, Twin Towers, they're suggesting turning that in. The only reason why it's called a jail, even though it's the largest mental health facility in the world, is because the taxpayers wouldn't pay for a mental health facility. They called it a jail, but it ended up being a 7,000 person mental health facility. That's one way they got around it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Next up, Priscilla London.
Well, to me, it's a tragedy. And I know just hearing everybody's voice feels the exact same way. I am participating through the next door on coming up with solutions for the homeless, but it has to be mental health. It has to be permanent housing. It has to be helping with drug addiction. And they're just all tied together. Yes, I think the tiny houses are a great idea. If we can get the parking lot situation worked, and I just read earlier about something that they are trying to work on, the one on Cahuenga, where we have to get the garbage off the ground. Where are the people picking up the garbage in these areas? This is the most important thing, I think, that we have to work on at this point. And the solutions are grand. I don't know any of the answers, but I am willing to go forward and do and speak to anyone that I can to help these people. It's desperate times and desperate measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Up next, Karen Sarro.
So I think everybody has, outlined what's working. I've been in contact with homeless people, and, they not only want shelter, but they want work as well. And I'm not sure, if we can help facilitate businesses and homeless people to work together. And then we still have like issues like drug use. And I think it's such an existential problem, and everybody is touched by it. It's safety, it's health, and we really need a citywide response to it. And right now we're on the course of, this judge's order where we're going to fulfill a certain number of homes, and then we can clear the sidewalks. But how long is that going to last? I don't know. So it's just like, it's such a huge issue, and everyone needs to be involved in the solution.
Thank you, Karen. All right, Robert D. Alpert.
I agree with Ira and Julie on this matter that it is a very delicate situation, but the longer we don't focus on it or put a swift end to it, the worse it becomes. While our interim situations are working to a degree, what we need to do is take a multifaceted approach. A great deal of this problem, as mentioned earlier, is that of employment and, to a degree, permanent housing and the costs of living. So I believe that as a city as a whole, and especially with our community, we should be working towards a manner of more permanent housing, particularly one that could potentially be space saving, even if it is a bit taller, and to stimulate local businesses to support an increase in jobs. And for any permanent housing we have planned, to eventually allow for the reintegration of our homeless members into society, and eventually potentially a conversion into low-income housing as well, so that we can counteract the steadily rising cost of living, especially among property values here. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. All right, that is it for that question. Julie Glaze Houlihan, I'd love to bring you up again to answer a question before you got disconnected. Are you still here?
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to ask you same question everybody else did, and it was about LAPD and crime and safety. So, what are your feelings about the people's budget, and how do you feel LAPD has been doing?
Yeah, the people's budget is pretty extreme, I would say. I think the mayor has like 53% for police, and the people's budget has 1.5% for police. But what I like about what they are trying to do and say is that it's about building community and putting resources into the community. And that affects people, but it also helps the police. I believe the police are doing, for the most part, the very best that they can. I believe that they're asked to do too much, to be honest. I think that they need the help of mental health experts, and, you know, when they're going on domestic violence calls or when they're going on suicide calls. So I think that a community approach is great. Community policing is great. And, you know, we hear it as a experimental thing here, but it's what I grew up with. You know, we knew the police in our neighborhood and we trusted them. So I think that the community approach is a great idea, but I don't want to completely defund the police. I think that the people's budget is too extreme.
Thank you, Julie. We will move on to the next question as well. So, with that, first person to answer will be Ira Gold. This next question, Ira, you will be first in the hot seat here, pal. And the question will be on land use. What is your position on the Harvard Westlake River Park project at Weddington Golf and Tennis? What is your position on the Harvard Westlake River Park project at Weddington Golf and Tennis? Ira?
Yes. Okay. Well, admittedly, I hadn't read up tons on that. But from what I understand, the school is looking to develop 17 plus acres for, I believe, there's a gymnasium. Look, I love the fact that we can look outside and see green space. I love the fact that living in Studio City, we have this absolutely beautiful scenescape that a lot of people don't have, that are not as fortunate to have. So it's my opinion that anything that we would do that isn't necessary, I would argue, would be probably not the right move. So again, I admittedly, I do need to research the ins and outs, but from what I understand so far, I would not be for it. I would be against it. I'd like to maintain the open space and avoid unnecessary construction.
Thank you, Ira. Next person will be Julie Glaze Houlihan.
Well, I'm heartbroken, like a lot of people, that we are losing this space as a community. From what I understand, Harvard Westlake bought that property. It's their property at this point. So unless I'm wrong, I think all we can do, and the Studio City Residents Association is doing just a killer job at this, is monitor all their plans and stay on them to, you know, do the least harm. I know that, you know, I signed their petition and I sent the email that they organized. There's so many valid concerns, you know, there's air quality, there's removal of tree, there's the wildlife that are going to be affected. There's going to be lights and annoying noises for the neighbors. So as far as I know, the best we can do is just try to curtail the amount of damage that's being done. Now, I could be, you know, mistaken, and it's something that I would love to know more about and be involved if I can. So.
Thank you, Julie. Next will be Lisa Karagian.
So being the chair of the Land Use Committee, I need to, I don't want to completely recuse myself from answering this question, but I do need to stay neutral and just basically say that, again, as the chair of land use, I can't really, I can't really say. But as a stakeholder, I think the project is too big. There are severe issues with noise and traffic, trees that are going to be removed. So with that, I just have to leave it at that. So.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Lisa. Thank you. Next up will be Scott Mandel.
Hi, first off, I really want to compliment Lisa Karagian as the head of the Land Use Committee. She's brought this issue to the stakeholders, such as myself, and really educated us as to what is going on there. And keeping in mind, it's not just the residents that live nearby. Harvard Westlake, they're stakeholders too. So we have to listen to their pitch, and we also have to wonder, how on earth did the city of Los Angeles miss out on an opportunity to acquire the land, and a high school was able to buy it and build or they're planning on building a mega complex. There's still more information to drop. There's an environmental report that's coming. And for me to come up with the view, I mean, this is a tough one because it's a golf course in Studio City. I mean, that does not, I mean, it looks beautiful, but I don't golf. I don't know anyone who golfs, and that's a lot of acres for a 9-hole course with what, 3 or 4 people per hole. Obviously, it could have better use for the whole community, but is a sports complex the best use of that land? We'll have to stay tuned and hear all the information. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Next up, Richard Niederberg. There you go.
Okay. That's been a difficult situation for a great number of years. Originally, they could have bought it for about $12 million. At one point, if they were allowed to buy the park by the river, they would give the rest to the city of LA for a park. None of these things came through because nobody wanted to put up the money, or at least buy a scenic easement so stuff wouldn't be built. In the meantime, it would be better if they would just let Halpert do their stuff within limits of the city plan. And again, I don't want to be putting any opinions out there, but I think that they could do something similar to the people that live in Laurelwood, such as Julie and myself. That basically we pay to have to preserve the empty land near us, basically above Mulholland and Fryman, as a protected thing, and we pay it in our taxes every year, and it's okay. The people in Studio City across the street could do the exact same thing, and let the park district.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much, Richard. All right, next person, Priscilla London.
Well, I think it's always a travesty when we give up open land that can be used for families and friends and people who play golf, which I do not. I don't really go over there much. I have been, but it's open air property. That's what we need to breathe, to live, to enjoy. Harvard Westlake obviously has the money, and money talks in many, many areas, as we know. I can only say that I would support whatever the community does to make sure that there is some open land left for the neighbors who live there and for the community to use. So I think it's a sad waste of fresh air for the community, and not to mention what the traffic's going to do to the neighborhood. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Next up will be Karen Sarro.
I know that Harvard Westlake has a history of not like helping deal with what neighbors' complaints are. So I think it's important because of where they've located that they take responsibility for what they're doing. And it's wonderful that the neighborhood has come together to hold them accountable. And, you know, I think everybody, you know, makes choices, and, you know, they've decided to purchase a private property inside a neighborhood that was a golf course. So, you know, that was a choice that they did. So, you know, that has consequences for the community. And I'm glad people are engaged on it. And I'm not, you know, intricately aware of what is happening, but save the trees, right? So thanks.
Thank you, Karen. All right, next up, let's see you come on, Robert Alpert. Robert.
Admittedly, I'm not overtly familiar with the ins and outs and intricacies of the project at hand, but I believe I would be in the general consensus in agreeing that if we can't really do anything about it now, at the very least, our community as a whole can work to hold Harvard Westlake responsible or accountable for any changes they make, and to continue their plans in a way that would be the least disruptive manner to other stakeholders within our community. As was mentioned before, there are concerns about traffic or the exact scale of how much open air land would be left. And I believe that as a stakeholder, it was mentioned before, while Harvard Westlake is a stakeholder, they should be held responsible, just as every one of us is, to ensure that the community as a whole can remain and keep some of the same semblance of normality without being overtly disruptive. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Griffin Faye. Griffin.
Thank you, Michael. I do not support the development of the Harvard Westlake River Park project. I believe that this would be a detrimental impact to the traffic on Whitsett. Personally, I grew up driving on Whitsett Boulevard. I learned how to drive on that street. It was a breath of fresh air for many people I know who live in Studio City, where you don't have to deal with the traffic in Laurel Canyon or Coldwater. And that street being clogged up would definitely add time to people's routes to work, to getting around the city, and just overall congest Studio City more that we don't need. And I look forward to seeing the environmental impact report from the area and working from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. All right, we are done with that question. Just so everybody knows, we are going to 9 o'clock, so don't worry. This will end at some point. The next question, though, first person to answer this will be Julie Houlihan. You will be up first on this question. It's two-parter, same questions. This will be a general question. If elected, which committees would you like to be involved in? But whether or not you're elected, would you still volunteer to be a member of a committee, attend meetings, or volunteer at events? So the question again, if elected, which committees would you like to be involved in? Or whether elected or not, would you still volunteer to be a member of a committee, attend meetings, or volunteer at events? Julie.
Yeah, I think I'm most interested in being on the Government Affairs Committee. It's directly involved with the policy and giving feedback on the programs and ordinances that they are proposing. So that'd probably be my number one. The Land Use Committee, I think, is really appealing as well because it's very broad in its scope. You know, it deals with not only just homeless and how the land is being used, but what businesses can come in and what the easements are for new construction. There's all kinds of interesting topics that come up under land use. So I'm very interested in that one as well. I think I'd like to be part of the budget committee. It's not a lot of money, but it is some money. And I think it's important that we make that amount of money count. So if I don't get elected, yes, I will probably sit in at least or try to join the Government Affairs Committee at minimum.
Thank you, Julie. Next up will be Lisa Karagian. Lisa?
I really enjoy being part of the Studio City Neighborhood Council as a board member. I respect all the committees. I enjoy land use very much. Outreach is very appealing. I just like being involved. I want Studio City to thrive. I want businesses to come back. I want there to be a teamwork mentality with stakeholders coming together, working together, defining goals, and making sure that we have a beautiful, thriving community that everyone can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next up will be Scott Mandel. Scott?
If I'm elected, I'll actually be required to be on at least one committee. Right now, I'm on outreach. I really enjoy it. There's so much we can do. Once somebody is a member of a committee or gets involved with Studio City Neighborhood Council, you'll realize that sometimes things move a little bit slow. We are controlled by a lot of outside forces, and we meet only once a month. So things don't move as quickly as some people would like or some people think. Before I decided to run, I thought it would be a very good idea to sort of learn the ropes, which is why I've been serving on a committee, learning the Roberts Rules of Order, the Brown Act, and how to conduct yourself during these committees. If I'm not elected, I would still want to serve on a committee because actually that's where the work gets done. The board just votes. The committee is the entity that usually comes up with the idea. They're reading hot sheets from city council updates. They're getting input from stakeholders. They debate it, then they present it to the board and try to convince them. So public safety, possibly homeless, and maybe continuing with outreach if I can't finish everything I've set out to accomplish. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. All right. From there, we're heading over to Richard Niederberg. Richard.
Okay, well, I've been on at least 4 or more committees for the last 14, maybe 16 years. Primarily dealing with land use, but I'm also on the budget committee. I'm on the bylaws committee, on government affairs, and I chair the cultural committee. That's being on 4 or 5 committees is enough, even though I've sat in other committees to give them things that we'll call institutional memory, stuff we've tried before and it worked or it didn't work, or how to make it work. So maybe I'm butting in, but I'm a lawyer and I try to give advice if something doesn't work. And so I'm probably going to try to stay on those committees, and maybe we'll join another committee if there's a new committee to do. I'm happy to do that. I also participate in all the outdoor materials such as Spring Living Fair, our thing in the park, Luminaria, and whatever else we have, which is an outdoor event. I have a lot of the equipment I loan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. All right, Priscilla, you're up. Priscilla Rambar London.
Well, I want to participate in the community. So I would say the things that are most important to me, number one is the homeless situation. I would like to contribute to solutions. I like the idea of cultural affairs, the outreach committee, and sustainability would be the areas that I would be very interested in participating and making a difference. If I am not elected, I will look forward to being a volunteer on any of those committees. You have me as part of the volunteer committee outreach. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. Up next, Karen Sarro. Karen.
No fucking.
Hi, so yeah, I would volunteer if I wasn't elected, and the committees I'm interested in are safety, sustainability, and there's one more. I can't remember. Oh, well, it's safety, sustainability, and then I would help out with the outreach. I'm good at helping with events. So if that's what that involves. And yeah, I just want to be more involved in my community. I'm already on a Sherman Oaks board and the Greater Miracle Mile board, Chamber of Commerce. So I really want to help out in Studio City.
Thank you, Karen. We are going up to Robert Alpert. Robert.
Election or not, I feel that participation in our community would be absolutely vital and has been a key goal of mine for several years at this point. Even when I was back in high school, I strongly considered it. And I consider if I don't have the opportunity as an elected official now to help, I would more than certainly seek to join a committee and help either way. I believe what might be our main focuses, and to reflect that of the city as a whole, might be the government affairs or the government affairs committee, our own neighborhood budgets, and to take it to more of a citywide perspective, a focus on the transportation committee as well, as admittedly some of our roadways and sidewalks could be in better condition. But if those aren't available, I will seek to help in any capacity I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. All right, stop that. Next up, Griffin.
Thank you, Michael. If not elected, I would be happy to volunteer to be a member of different committees. Personally, I would love to start working with the Outreach Committee to promote younger volunteers in the Studio City Neighborhood Council to get more acquainted with their local neighborhood councils. I believe that voter outreach is important, even at the local level, and encouraging younger people to promote civic engagement will improve our society manyfold. I would also be interested in working with the sustainability and transportation committees to promote more green spaces and bike lanes throughout Studio City. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Last but not least, Ira Gold.
Thanks, Michael. The Committee on Homelessness, Outreach, possibly Land Use. I have certain zoning concerns, especially related to my career and my clients, which are also stakeholders. Whichever committee or committees I do join, I'm 100% committed to anything that I do. So I don't do anything lightly. So any committee I join, I'd be a dedicated member. If not elected, I would still attend meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. All right, since Joseph is not here, Joseph DeLuna is not here, Scott, you will be the next person, the last in line to answer this next question. And again, I just want to remind everybody paying attention out there that there are more candidates. Some have not been here some will not be here for the next 3 days as well. And you can always go to the website above my head to check out their statements to see who is running and read their statements as well. So with that said, Scott, you will be first to answer this question. And I'm going to combine here two out of outreach, everybody. We have a diverse community. So how do you feel about increasing engagement in the SCNC with a more diverse and representative members of our community? How would you suggest we become more inclusive? And the same type of question, how do you plan to involve stakeholders in the Studio City Neighborhood Council, the greater stakeholders in the Studio City Neighborhood Council? So again, we've got a diverse community. So how do you feel about increasing engagement in the SCNC with a more diverse and representative members of our community? How do you suggest we become more inclusive? And how do you plan to involve more stakeholders in general in the Studio City Neighborhood Council? Scott, on you.
Well, first of all, for anybody who has gone through the ballot request process to vote, I think that was a Rube Goldberg. I don't think they could have devised a system that was more perverse and did not reach out to people and make them feel like they could vote. I've had young people go through the process who said, this is moronic, this is stupid, give me the paper ballot. So first, I'd like to have a talk with Dunn and find out why they made it so unbelievably difficult to register for a ballot. As far as the diversity, when we have meetings, like we're having a meeting right now, I don't know who the attendees are. I can't see their faces, so I don't know if the diversity goals or the diversity participants actually match the diversity of Studio City. I mean, Studio City is not really that diverse. I think it's over 70% white. So on the first prong of diversity has to be done reaching out to the community and letting them know what neighborhood councils are and that they should get involved. As far as Studio City in particular, we've been trying to do that with the outreach committee, and we're just having a hard time getting people to be involved. They would rather be on Nextdoor and complain there. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Next up will be Richard Niederberg. Richard.
Well, as chair of the Cultural Affairs Committee, basically, we've had a Black member who's now moved on to be a financial representative of the city. And of course, currently member, we have one of the people that should be here tonight, but is not, which of course is Joseph, who's actually a Native American chief of a tribe. So I understand when he can't make stuff, fortunately, he makes the cultural affairs meetings. I think basically the diversity has to be done one committee at a time. I've invited mine and probably will do more. All other committees should also be responsible to make sure diversity is a reality and not just on paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. All right, next we have Priscilla London. Priscilla.
How are you doing? Well, this is a hard question for me to answer. One of the things that I'm thinking is that I live in a building that's very diverse. We have many different races and ethnicities. And if there was a way to get to your neighbors and speak to them about getting them engrossed and engaged in the Studio City, I think it would be an excellent way for these people to feel more part of the community. Because even in my building, I feel like everybody's sort of in their own little communities. So I'm not sure I really have an answer of how we go about it. Some kind of an event where we really reach out and bring people together. Maybe do a big fair on a street and have diverse cooking and things to buy and bring people in. That might help. I'm not really sure, but I'm willing to learn and work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Up next, we have Karen Sarro. Karen.
I have experience making an organization more diverse. It simply means inviting people to join. And, you know, I think in Studio City, it is a bit of a challenge because there's a huge majority of, you know, white people, but we can just invite people, include people, just listen to people. So you just do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. Up next, Robert Alpert. Hold on a second, buddy. All right, I'm ready for you.
Regrettably, I don't have as much practical experience in inclusivity or providing inclusivity, but I feel another aspect of diversity that we may be ignoring is also that of wealth or class as well. Availability to meetings, I believe, is an important factor along with awareness itself. To that end, I believe that telecommunication is going to be the future going forward for our meetings, as it would allow people who may have to work to, when they get, instead of having to drive out to a meeting or otherwise, they can sit in. Also, I believe that for those who may not be as fortunate to have a connection for that, we could provide a sort of town hall-ish meetings place, so that in mass we can have members interact within our own meetings as well. However, that takes preparation, and most importantly, it takes time for that implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next up, Griffin Faye. Griffin.
Thank you, Michael. I personally believe that this would be a great task for the outreach committee of the neighborhood council to bring in younger, more diverse people, going door to door, hosting virtual Zoom sessions to educate Studio City stakeholders on what the neighborhood council is, what it does, and how it's an outlet for people to share their voice and concerns on the busy goings of the city. I also think a great tool for promoting outreach would be a website redesign. I personally have a passion for HTML and working in JavaScript for website design, and I would love to be able to work on this, or promoting local web tech people to work on this website, making it more presentable and making ourselves more presentable to the Studio City stakeholder audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. Up next, Ira Gold.
Thanks, Michael. Any Studio City stakeholder should be welcome and should feel welcome. If anyone felt or feels otherwise, I would want to hear from this person or people. And of course, it would be an anonymous conversation, so we could identify an issue if one even existed. I think that would be extremely important if certain people are feeling that they're not welcome. How do I plan to involve stakeholders? Well, we can't be the voice of Studio City without having a pulse on what the views of the stakeholders are as a whole. So I'd like to see if we can create a Studio City-wide poll on certain issues. Technology is such that it sounds relatively easy, and I understand that in reality, things that sound easy might be quite challenging, but I would like to try. I'd also like to help create a friendlier vibe for those who are attending meetings. The public comments can be brutal and very, it could dissuade a lot of people in certain meetings from feeling comfortable or coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. On to Julie Glaze-Houlihan. Julie.
Yeah, you guys have made some great points, and Ira, I agree about the meetings sometimes are pretty intimidating and sometimes a little disturbing with people who call in and are allowed to say things that are completely inappropriate. But in terms of increasing engagement, yeah, you have to ask people and we have to reach out. That is one thing. I also agree that the website is a little bit lacking, that the online presence could be a lot better in terms of drawing people in. I agree as well that these electronic surveys are something that sometimes people will commit to doing, a 5-10 minute survey when they might not commit to something deeper. And maybe there's more specific targets, like, going to some apartment complexes and having like a little Zoom party, or having something that's topical, getting out the word in like churches or synagogues or certain civic groups and saying, this is your night with neighborhood council, tell us what you think. And just having some smaller community things where people really get to talk and participate.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. And Lisa Karagian. Lisa.
So we do have somewhat of a diverse community. To increase engagement, I think outreach is key. And in the way that technology is right now with Instagram, Nextdoor, Facebook, our website, we have to make sure that we, as board members, when and if elected, take on the job of making sure that we do reach out to our community in ways that they will be able to respond and start participating. Events are a great way to invite stakeholders to participate. Yeah, that's a good way, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
And we have gone through everybody and with all questions as well. So we are just going to jump into closing statements, everyone. Closing statements, you'll have 1 minute, dropping the timer down, 15 seconds. And this is your last pitch, folks. You've been great. I appreciate you all. Thank you for spending the time with us here to do this and rolling with it since it's a pandemic forum. And the first person to speak in the closing statements will be Scott Mandel. Scott, your closing statement, my friend.
Hi. I first want to thank Michael and Lisa for putting on this Zoom forum. I want to thank all the panelists for being civil and for acting very appropriately. I think all your hearts are in the right places. Again, back to what I think Julie and Ira had said and I had said before, it's not going to be like this when we're exposed to public comment. So this was actually quite nice. I'm on the outreach committee and I've heard a lot of comments about outreach. So look on the Studio City Neighborhood Council calendar for the next outreach committee and have a listen to what we're trying to do and familiarize yourself with the process. And I hope I get your vote and I think we can accomplish a lot together. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Before we jump to Richard, let me just say to everyone as well, and Scott, I'll give you a few more seconds. I'll give you a couple extra seconds. If you have contact information that stakeholders can reach out to you more, if you do have an Instagram, a Twitter, or Nextdoor, feel free to throw that in there. I'll give you a couple extra seconds to say that at the end as well.
Well,
Again,
if anyone wants to contact me, I'm sure some of you have already met me on Nextdoor. I'm very visible there. You see my name in the box. My email is scottmandel@hotmail.com. Shoot me an email. I'll gather with any or all of you. If you want to do another Zoom forum or any type of other debate or Q&A or any type of interaction. And good luck with your campaign.
Again, I say the same thing for everybody. If at the end of it, you just want to say if there's a great way to reach out to you to keep this conversation going. If this was live in person, not a pandemic, obviously we would all be able to go up and ask candidates a little bit more. So let's just give the stakeholders that opportunity if possible. Otherwise, Richard Niederberg, closing statement.
Okay, well, first I want to thank you for your thing of putting together the Studio City version of National Night Out. It's a thing I've done every year, and I'm glad that you're doing it this year. Other comments are, I enjoy doing that in all the other communities and all the other events. And I really don't have much more to say. My email is ladesigners@gmail.com. LADESIGNERS. Dealing with them. And of course, I'm always looking around if there's somebody else who wants to join the what do you call it? The Cultural Affairs Committee. Of course, I'll look at anybody basically, and that's exactly how Joseph DeLuna joined. I'm sorry he's not here tonight, and it's good having a Native American chief on my committee. I assure you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. All right, moving on to Priscilla London. Priscilla, hold on a second. All right.
Well, thank you, Michael, for your really good hard work, and you were very well at getting us all to answer our questions and do what we're supposed to do. I am grateful, really grateful to be part of this tonight. It's meant a lot to me. I want to do what I can for this community. I have a voice. I want to use it. I have ideas. I want to work on them. And I look forward to everyone getting out the vote and voting for me. It's prlondon@gmail.com. Please send me an email if there's something you want me to answer. I look forward to it. And I look forward to actually meeting all of you in the future. So again, thank you. And let us all find peace and happiness and good health. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. And again, if people are missing emails or anything, this is recorded. This will be up on YouTube. Just skip to the end and you can hear it again. That's all I'd say. So moving. Karen.
Well, I want to thank everybody for organizing this and for talking about all of these issues. And I feel like I got to know people here better than I did at meetings that I've gone to. So it was really enlightening, and I would love working with any one of you. And I'm wondering if we can help, if we can find a way to make meetings more civil. I don't know. That would be great. And the other committee that I was interested in working with was the homeless committee. So thank you. Oh, and my email is karencerro@gmail.com. And my Instagram is @KarenCerro also.
Thank you, Karen. And we are going to move on to Robert Alpert. Robert.
First of all, I would like to thank you, Michael, for helping organize this. I would like to thank every candidate here and every panelist and attendee for remaining civil during this meeting. I would hope that in the event that I'm elected, that I could provide as pragmatic and satisfactory a solution for our needs as we could possibly get. Although that may not be a possibility. In the event of that, I would love to be helping on the committees and meeting all of you in person, hopefully. If you need to contact me, I could be contacted at r.o.b.alpert489@gmail.com. You can try to contact me on Facebook. I will update my profile to better reflect my location, although I will warn you that I do not check it often, and I would prefer that you contact me through email. And I would be more than glad to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Yeah, just so you all know, my timer went away. We've got a 2-hour limit on my timer, so I'll have to keep it like this next time. Sorry. With that, we're going to Griffin Faye. Again, Griffin, just know that I'm doing a 1-minute timer on my end, buddy. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Michael, and all the panelists here. This was very civil, and I had a great time. I'd just like to finish by saying the COVID-19 pandemic has taken a lot from us individually and as a community. If elected, I look forward to representing all members of Studio City to promote safe streets, green spaces and infrastructure, and recovering from the pandemic stronger than ever. To find out more information from our slate and give us feedback, go to our website at studiocityforall.com. Again, that's studiocityforall.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin. All right. Griffin, Ira Gold, you are up next. Ira.
Thanks, Michael. I want to thank you. I want to thank Lisa Sarkin for facilitating. Thanks to all the candidates. Studio City is a great place. Many of us have lived here years. I've lived here 14 years. I love it. I want to continue to love it. I want this to be an even greater place. And I'm happy that there are so many people, a lot of us are here tonight, that want that as well. I think that's a really special thing. I would love your vote as the member at large. I promise to represent you warmly and accurately as your representation on the council. You can reach me for any questions at iragold@large@gmail.com. IRAGOLD, the word at, so AT, large, LARGE, @gmail.com. I am happy to answer any questions. And thanks again for allowing me the opportunity to speak and to throw my hat into the ring for member at large on the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Next, here we go. There's that timer. Julie Houlihan. Julie.
Yes, I would also like to thank you, Michael and Lisa, for putting this together, and to all the panelists. It's been a great discussion, and I really appreciate all of you. I am a 20-year resident here. I'm a parent, I'm a customer, I'm a homeowner, I'm a business owner. I go to church in this town. Studio City is my life. I live here. I love the city. I'm a solutions-oriented person. I want to put some effort into keeping this city one of the crown jewels of LA. I believe in Studio City and I love it. And that's why I'm running. And I hope that you'll vote for me. If anybody wants to reach out to me, my email is juliehoulihan2021, all together, juliehoulihan2021@gmail.com. Thanks.
Thank you, Julie. Right on time. With that, Lisa Karagian. Lisa.
So I just want to say thank you, Michael, for moderating. Very good job. Lisa Sarkin, thank you for all your hard work. And if we can incorporate the postcard that was sent out to every household to participate, we can actually accomplish some diversity participation. So having said that, this is my third election as a board member. I'm continuing to be extremely optimistic and very passionate. My email address is Karagian, Karadjian @studiocitync.org. Should you want to send me an email, I would like to thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to collaborating with all of those who love Studio City as much as I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Right on time as well. With that, that's everyone. So,
excuse me, Michael. I'm so sorry.
Lisa Sarkin is the head of our ad hoc committee. So, Lisa, what's up?
I'm so sorry. Lisa, you gave your neighborhood council email address.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
You can't
Lisa
use that. So please, everybody, ignore that. And now she'll give you the proper one.
Yes, ignore that altogether.
She's
Sorry.
so used to using it.
Yes. Lisa
Okay.
Karagian @gmail.com.
All right, Lisa Karagian @gmail.com. Okay, with that, unless Lisa Sarkin has anything else, that's it. I really want to thank everyone. Yeah, you've done a wonderful job keeping on time. Again, it's just tough during a pandemic to do a video Zoom. Thank you for answering the questions. Thank you for being timely. Thank you for putting the effort into this as well. I wish you all the best of luck. To the attendees, please go to the election website again to sign up. You do need to sign up yet again, even if you're eligible for national and state elections. Please sign up. Stakeholders must sign up by May 4th. Ballots must be postmarked by May 11th or dropped into the ballot box outside Studio City. Closes May 11th. So thank you all once again, and join us tomorrow night as well as the next night, again at 7 o'clock for more candidates in different categories. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.